I'm Lorraine Salmond and I head up our UK and Ireland strategy for identity verification and authentication at LexisNexis Risk Solutions. We have many solutions in this space, and the kinds of problems we're solving for our customers are helping them identify genuine customers and reduce the friction for them, prevent, detect and investigate fraud, and protect consumers' identities and prevent account takeover. And this is all part of our aim to make it easier for society to interact safely, inclusively and transparently. Whether an organisation is selling computers, servicing bank accounts, lending money or hiring out vehicles, they all need to trust in the identity they are dealing with, and they need to be doing this in all of their interactions. An identity today in the digital era is a combination of physical, digital and behavioural attributes or characteristics that belong to a person. Physical attributes, which are typically name, date of birth and address, which are often data checks, and then there's digital attributes which centre around the online activities such as email, telephone or IP address. Then behavioural attributes which look at how a person interacts with a device. However, the problem is that a single attribute on its own isn't usually enough to distinguish one person from another, but a combination of attributes might be. For organisations to be able to grow, remain compliant and run efficient business processes, they must be confident that they know who they are dealing with and, importantly, whether the individual is likely to pose a risk to their business. Checking a customer is who they say they are at the initial onboarding stage is critical, but also rechecking throughout all interactions with them throughout the customer journey is essential. So rechecking or authenticating the identity of a returning customer when they make a transaction, when they change their profile details is also essential. But in today's world, where fraud tactics are increasing in sophistication and customers expect an instant, low-friction service, it can mean that organisations have to work at top speed, trying to piece together assurance that an identity is verified and that the individual claiming to be that identity is its rightful owner and should be allowed access. Today, there are lots of data points that can be referenced to verify identities, but this is complex to manage and not all relevant to every use case. There is no single solution that fits all. What makes sense for each organisation is very much context-based, so it needs a flexible, multidimensional approach that speedily conducts the checks in the most optimum way at all points across the customer journey. There's a vast array of identity attributes, digital, physical and behavioural. It really is multidimensional. Getting the right checks in place at the right time in the customer journey is critical. You can break it down into 3 steps. The first step is verifying that the identity is real and exists, and that it has existed over time, and it's live and it's active. These sort of checks are often data-driven, physical checks, relying on authoritative sources such as electoral roll, mortality registers, credit reference agencies and biometric checks. The second step, you need to check that the person who's claiming to be the identity is its rightful owner. And if this check is happening online, the techniques can include ID document checks with biometric verification, sending one-time passwords or mobile app authentication. The third step, you need to be sure that this claimed identity presents any risks. And this is where many of the digital identity attributes come into play. Have they been associated with any fraud? Does it look like it could be a synthetic identity? Has the email address been linked to previous fraud? Check how recently the email address was set up. If it's new, it could be considered a risk indicator. Have their ID documents ever been reported as stolen? You can check that the bank account is valid, and does it match to that individual? And again, how recently was the bank account set up? You can check whether the mobile phone the customer is using is a valid number, and again, how recently was that number set up? Checking location anomalies, things like if it's a UK customer but the mobile device is showing as being in another part of the world or at the wrong altitude, or are the keyboard and phone keystrokes in line with normal patterns, or even if the phone is being held at the right angle. Confidence now comes from layering diverse data, behavioural patterns, device intelligence, network linkages and document authentication. Advanced correlation of data sources uncovers inconsistencies that may not be evident when examining data points individually. There are many individuals with limited identity data associated to them, often called thin files. Perhaps they're new to the country or young adults with limited credit and borrowing history. However, this does create risk blind spots particularly at the onboarding stage, where fraudsters may exploit this limited visibility to pass a fraudster off as a legitimate customer. So this requires a tailored risk-adjusted approach. The best approach is to use alternative data sources, which can surface data points far beyond simply looking at a credit reference agency report. Sources like National Fraud Initiative data strengthens the identity verification process. Verifying identities against these trusted authoritative datasets will improve the identity check match rate, particularly for those individuals without a strong credit history. Using bank account verification and property ownership records can provide critical verification signals and fill gaps in thin identity profiles. It is important for society to be able to interact safely, inclusively and with transparency, and to be able to access products and services in order to live their lives. Just because an individual happens to have a thin file shouldn't mean that they cannot be verified. Fake identities are now more sophisticated than ever, plus there is a growing amount of synthetic identity fraud happening. A synthetic identity is one where a fictitious identity is created by combining real and fake information. However, there is no individual behind this identity. Fraudsters are using stolen ID documents, manipulating ID documents and creating completely fake ID documents. AI-driven tools can generate them quickly and cheaply with realistic attributes. A fake identity can be used to conduct fraud without raising suspicion, because once a fraudulent act has happened, it's very difficult to trace the perpetrators. Who are you going to chase? The identity never even existed. And when the fraudsters create these synthetic identities, they obviously make them look good. They'll have a solid credit history, no CCJs, they'll look like an ideal new customer. There is predictive machine learning techniques to holistically risk assess identities in near real time. Combining our unique identifier, LexID, with powerful linking technologies and a vast network of UK consumer records, we can interconnect seemingly unrelated events, difficult to spot suspicious connections and anomalies, including synthetic identities, which might indicate a higher risk of fraud and delivers actionable insights and intelligence to our organisations. This helps our business customers benefit from higher fraud capture rates, operational efficiencies and reduced false positives, and their consumers benefit from less friction in the user journey. Verification rates can be misleading if you're verifying bad or manipulated data. A 95% pass rate isn't a success if synthetic identities are getting through. True verification accuracy reflects your ability to confidently accept good customers while rejecting risky or unknown profiles.